Today, we're going to dive deep into the microscopic world. We're on a mission to explore the one thing that connects every single living thing on this planet. So what is it? What is this fundamental unit of life? Let's find out.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a little puzzle for you. What could an onion, a human, and a tiny little bacterium possibly have in common? I mean, they seem totally different, right? One's a vegetable, one is, well, us, and the other's a microbe. But believe it or not, they share this incredibly profound secret. What do you think it is?
And the answer is, they're all made from the exact same building blocks, these tiny little compartments called cells. This picture you're looking at right here, those are onion cells, and they look kind of like a honeycomb. This is almost exactly what the scientist Robert Hooke saw way back in 1665. When he looked through his microscope, he thought they looked like the small rooms or cellulae in a monastery, and so he called them cells. The name just stuck. And the wild part is, his discovery was a total accident. It was just a chance observation, but it literally opened up a hidden world and changed science forever. For the first time, we realized that living things weren't just blobs of stuff. No, they were built from individual, distinct units. So Hooke's discovery lit a fuse. Pretty soon, in 1674, another scientist, Leeuwenhoek, saw single cells just swimming around in pond water. Then, things really heated up in the 1830s when Schleider and Schwann put it all together and said, hey, wait a minute, all plants and animals are made of cells. But the final, absolute game-changing idea came in 1855 from Virchow. He stated that all cells have to come from other pre-existing cells. That was a huge deal. So, we've got this universal blueprint, the cell. But, just because you have one type of Lego brick doesn't mean you can only build one thing. You can build a tiny house or a massive starship. Well, it's the same with cells. Life uses this single unit to build itself in some vastly different ways. On one hand, you've got your unicellular organisms. Think of something like an amoeba or bacteria. Their entire life, eating, moving, the whole shebang, is packed into just one single cell. They're the ultimate minimalists. But then you have us, multicellular organisms. We're made of trillions of cells that all work together, specializing to become skin or bone or brain tissue. It's an incredible level of teamwork. And even the cells themselves have a couple of main design styles. First up, you have these simpler prokaryotic cells, like bacteria. They're kind of like a one-room studio apartment, small, efficient, and their genetic material just floats around inside. Then you have the more complex eukaryotic cells. These are the cells that make up plants, animals, and us. Think of them as mansions with lots of different rooms and specialized departments, including a proper nucleus to hold all the important information. Now, to really understand what's going on inside one of these complex eukaryotic cells, it's super helpful to imagine it as a bustling miniature city. And just like any city, it's got to have borders, right? It needs walls and gates to control what comes in and what goes out. So let's start our tour right there, at the city limits. This border is called the plasma membrane. Now, this isn't some big, rigid brick wall. It's more like a flexible, smart barrier. And its most important job is being selectively permeable. That's a fancy way of saying it's like a super strict bouncer at a club. It lets the good stuff, like nutrients, in, and it kicks the bad stuff, like waste, out. It's absolutely crucial for keeping everything inside the cell perfectly balanced. So how does something like water get past this bouncer? Well, it has a special VIP pass called osmosis. And it's all about balance. As you can see here, if there's more water outside the cell, water rushes in and the cell swells up. But if it's the other way around and there's less water outside, water rushes out and the poor cell shrinks. The sweet spot is when the water concentration is the same inside and out. Then, everything's perfectly balanced. This one simple process is vital for pretty much every cell out there. All right, we've made it past security at the city gate. Now let's head inside and meet the incredible workforce that keeps this whole place running. These are the organelles, and each one has a very specific job to do. And where do you think we should start? Well, we have to go to the heart of the city, the main headquarters, the command center. And that is the nucleus. Think of it as City Hall. It holds the entire library of blueprints for the city. That's the DNA, all neatly packaged into chromosomes. And from this central office, the nucleus directs every single activity in the cell, from its day-to-day work all the way to making new cells. Okay, But a busy city needs power, right? You can have all the blueprints in the world, but without electricity, nothing gets done. You need power plants. And in our cell city, the power plants are the famous mitochondria. You've probably heard them called the powerhouses of the cell, and for good reason. These amazing little structures take in nutrients and convert them into an energy molecule called ATP. You can think of ATP as the cash that the cell spends to get literally anything done. Without the mitochondria, the lights would go out in an instant. Now, beyond City Hall and the power plants, this city has a whole infrastructure of specialized services. You've got the endoplasmic reticulum, which is like a massive factory and shipping network. There's the Golgi apparatus, which is basically the city's post office. It packages and sends out materials. And of course, you need a waste disposal crew, and those are the lysosomes cleaning up old parts and junk. Every single part has to work together perfectly. So it's pretty clear this cellular city is an unbelievably complex and self-sufficient machine. But that begs the question, how does life expand? How do we go from just one cell to the trillions that make up a human body? How does a cut on your finger heal? It all comes down to the cell's amazing ability to build more cities. Now, really quick, before we get to how these cities multiply, it's important to know that not all of them are built exactly the same. We've mostly been talking about an animal cell. But plant cells have a few awesome upgrades. They have a super rigid outer cell wall for extra support. It's what helps plants stand up straight. They have plastids like chloroplasts, which are like tiny solar panels that make their own food, and they usually have one giant vacuole for storing water. So how do we grow and heal? The answer is cell division. It's the incredible process where one mother cell divides to create two brand new daughter cells. This is it. This is how organisms get bigger, how we replace old and worn out parts, and how life itself keeps going. It is the engine of all biology. And this brings us right back to that critical point from our history lesson. Every single cell in your body came from another cell, which came from another cell, all the way back to the very first one that started your life. But that leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. If every cell has to come from a pre-existing cell, then where on earth did the very first one come from?